Hi, and welcome to Mindful Creativity Time. I'm Katie McCrae, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I know that I do a lot with knitting and crochet, and today I'm going to be spending some time with you doing calligraphy. Uh, I just recently picked this up, I would say within the past year and a half. I never really did much with it before, and I was a little bit leery of the whole calligraphy trend until my intern showed me these. These are an example of some brush pens, and they're water-based. They're very inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon. This is the kind I got. And what I like about them is they're not like magic markers because each one really is a brush. It really has separate fibers in there and makes a very smooth, very pleasing effect on paper. The other thing that I did when I started to use brush pens was I bought some notebooks. I bought a few, and I found a few calligraphy ones. And these are great for practicing because they have the letters that you're doing up underneath. And this one has, sometimes I just get plain, sort of almost like a coloring book. Each page you trace directly on the paper. But this one has layers of vellum so that you can trace and then lift it and then trace again. So each one you can do 3 or 4 times. So one of the things I really like about it is you really have to be mindful, right? It's not, you can't just be on autopilot. You really have to slow down in order to make the strokes. And I sometimes look at each one. So for example, here I'm making a Y. Instead of thinking as I'm making it, oh, I'm making a Y, I'm pressing down to make it wider, and then I'm lifting up a little bit to make it thinner. Sometimes I just look at the whole shape as if I'm trying to draw a circle or a square or anything else, not even thinking about what the letter is. But it's very, some people find it very stressful. I acknowledge that. For me, it's very relaxing. Again, I try to not focus too much on the outcome and just the process. But the outcome can be very lovely. And I've used calligraphy to write cards for people, to put their names on a card or to write a card, a birthday card, and people just really like it. It just looks stunning. It's also, it tends to be the kind of thing, you'll see in stores, placards and things like that, or stickers that have a phrase or some meaningful word written in a calligraphy style. So this is really nice for personal use if you have a phrase or a word or a name that you really want to make special, you want to remember it or post it somewhere where you see it. It makes whatever you're writing that much more relevant or important. It kind of commemorates it. So I'm just going to go along and practice these. And again, a lot of it has to do with the pressure on the pen. So when you push down, it smushes the brush pen onto the page. And when you lift up, it lifts and makes a thin line. So it takes a lot of that muscle memory as you do this. And I'm the type of person who just likes writing in general. I like to write on a bigger picture. I like to write letters, stories, things like that. But even on a day to day, I like the feeling of writing with a pen or pencil or some kind of implement on paper. And I tend to do it a lot. I tend to do a lot of journaling. I tend to take notes if I'm in a meeting, even if I never read the notes again. Just the act of putting the pen to paper helps me to stay focused on what the person's saying, helps me to remember what it was that I wrote down, even again, if I never read it another time. I find it very satisfying in a way that typing doesn't hit. Sometimes I will copy over old journals. I'll go through them. Lately, I've been going through a lot of my old different journals over the years, and I'm taking pages out and copying them over into new journals in a bullet journal style. So that way, if I have certain insights that I had over the years, I can put those in a journal about insights. If I have other sort of information, I can put those in other ones. So sometimes if it's medical information, I'll put those in a separate journal. And again, I don't know if I'll ever really read them again, but the act of copying over these bits and pieces of things that I wrote down over the years is really satisfying. So I'm just going to finish this row here. I like doing these Ys because they have a lot of different angles and things to practice. You can imagine if you're doing calligraphy, it's similar to cursive, which I hear they don't teach kids in schools very much anymore because most kids are learning to type. But the idea is that you can do a long unbroken line, that you don't have to lift your pen from the page, which would make sense back hundreds of years ago when people were using a feather or quill pen. They maybe didn't want to make each separate letter. They wanted to have one long unbroken line. So a lot of the letters look kind of funny to the modern eye because they needed to be made in a way where they could be continuous. So again, this is an introduction to mindful creativity time. I'm going to be making other videos that are longer. And if you have any requests or suggestions, we can be doing other things like guided meditations, or I can play music during these. But until then, please feel free to leave me some notes in the comment box. And I hope that this time together has helped you to get whatever's on your mind out of your mind, and that your hands have been able to ease things a little bit and help you process your emotions. I'll see you soon.